Good evening, Facebook. Good evening, YouTube. It's Thursday night. So tonight we're going to do planning for the 7/10 National Cannabis Patient Awareness Day. Many states are going to be taking part that day, and we need a few states each week to come check in and just check in. We've never really done this many states before, so we just want you to check in tonight. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever state you're in, check in. Call in and check in. We want to talk to you. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what's going on in your state. We have a lot of states making news. Nevada just made the news. Make sure I have the correct address in there.
I'm gonna get mine. Look at the drum if you can't even so don't tell me how you all get down. When you're smiling in my face, but you're blaming like a clown and you fool bitch. So just step back. Or a mad dad when I come down set. I thought you were on my face, but you're blaming out. Now a man is out. Outside down. What do you want? What do you want? Let's go. What do you want? back on the scene. It's time to get lean. I'm a lead. Revolution machine. For what people say, they slay. For today is any day. You'll feel slightly distressed, resist. Raise your fist and like this. Promises, all something in your rhythm. Something in your rhythm. Something in your rhythm.
Hey, Tony.
Is Michael Nelson. The second half of this 5 o'clock local time kickoff, which FC Tulsa have, pretty sure I'm right in saying, never done on a Saturday. They're going to do it again in 2 weeks' time. Experimenting with different days and kickoffs. Here's Chris Allen, the Englishman.
I don't know what that was. Okay.
Hello.
Hello there, Tony. Can
Hi.
you hear us, Tony?
Oh,
Hello
Tony's on.
there.
Oh,
Live,
Tony.
live from California.
If you were only really live, Tony,
I am live.
I don't see your face. You're just
Oh.
the picture.
I don't have a camera on this computer.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Well, that's nice to say. Hear your voice. That's what they all say. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
I heard that before. What are you
I
going?
heard
What are you
that
doing over there?
every time. Every time.
Can't you take a
I'm
break
in-
for 5 minutes and talk
I'm
to
in my underwear in
Yeah.
the hash lab, and you don't want to see either
Hey.
of it.
I know
It's 4:20. It's 4:20 in Oregon. Okay, I'm lighting up. 4:20.
Wow, it's 4:20 somewhere.
It's 4:20 in Oregon.
It's 4:20 in California.
There you go.
Hey, Paul, how are you?
Oh, there's Paul.
I'm gonna have to change my camera. 'Cause I'm very
It's
small.
a puff puff pass.
I look very tiny here. I'll have to change my camera until Adam
Yeah, you
gets
do
here.
look very tiny.
New York's coming. New York's coming.
Oh, really?
Waiting for New York. Always waiting for New York.
Oh, good.
Well, that's okay.
We don't have feedback. So Honeybee is about 25 feet away from me.
Yep.
And we're both on the same Wi-Fi system.
Oh, cool.
And we're both inhaling cannabis.
Come here, Teresa.
On the vape system.
Oh, yeah. I prefer the vape. Stand over a little closer. Stand down. There you are.
That sounded a little weird, Paul. Bend
Behind
down.
her over there. Behind her. Not
Just
weird.
saying.
Depends on who's listening. Or to go get in your frame now.
The whole world, Paul, the whole world. We're here to change the world. So we're just getting started, and happy Friday or Thursday, whatever day it is to you. So tomorrow we're going to be on Paul's
you are.
show. Or is it next week? What day is
It's
it?
the next Friday, the 5th, Cinco de Mayo.
Oh,
It's
yes.
Thursday, the 27th, I believe. Yeah,
That's
the
going to be a
27th.
show about veterans.
That's right.
That's good. So I'm really excited that I have been working on the nonprofit stuff and learning how to get sponsors. And I'm excited to see what I can get. I have to register in Oregon, and it's only going to be like $275, which isn't that much. And then I can have the benefits of the nonprofit out west because I'm Sativa Cross West side. I'm the west side.
Really? So it would be an extension, like a satellite kind of?
You can have a foreign corporation, is what it would be.
Yes, it's a
A foreign nonprofit corporation. I just happen to be an expert on this corporate stuff. And so when you locate in a different state, you have to register with Secretary of State Business Office as a foreign corporation. And by foreign, that means not in this, a different state.
Well,
You
that's
know.
cool.
Yeah.
What do we have to do on our end to make that happen?
Well, you have to work together with her and get the financial reports of what she's doing, and then make those part of your financial reports.
Yeah, it's really easy, they said.
Yeah, you just whatever her expenditures, contributions, and expenditures are, then you record them as well and add them as a separate chapter in your organization, which is a 501c3, right?
Yes. Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Kind of, if it brings in donations, it'll grow your organization accordingly.
Yeah,
And that's what we're going to do. We need lots of donations because we're here to help the patients, and we're going to have raffles to get people to the 710 events around the nation. And so far we have like 21, 22, 30, how many?
21, 22.
26?
So how are we going to do that? We're going to give away raffles, give away motor
Yes.
machines and such. How are we going to do that to get people to rally with us? How do we promote that?
Well, you're going to have to, first of all, like us.
Like and
share,
follow. Okay.
Like, share, and follow Cannabis Patient Awareness Day. They can also follow Sativa Cross. They can also follow Lefty Grimes, and they can also follow Honeybee Thomas. And that's where you can find the main resources for the Cannabis Patient Awareness Day. And all the other things that Lefty does, you can follow him wherever he is.
I'm all over the place.
And Paul's right here in Portland, all over. Paul's actually all over the world.
For me, it's kind of weird because you say it through the sound waves, and it comes back maybe 1 second or a little less than 1 second through the phone here, bouncing off Zoom's server somewhere out in cyberspace.
I'll show you guys. He's just right here. Can you see him? He's right there.
Okay. Yeah, be careful. You might have an echoing issue if you get too close.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I
Feedback.
might have to go in this other room.
Yeah,
I could go over here.
Yeah, the
All
further
the
away, the
pictures
better.
on the wall are from my medical garden. And in that medical garden, and it's supporting indoor garden primarily,
Hmm.
I still
Oh.
do it on a smaller scale. But I have
And
grown.
maybe that would be
and given
better.
away- I've grown and given away over 7,000 pounds of free cannabis to sick and dying people, and about 200 pounds of RSO.
Yeah, that's the key, the RSO, because that's the labor intensive part of it that patients probably
Yeah.
can't really do, you know?
Yeah, you
That's
need
actually a
alcohol.
good spot.
You need to know how to cook it out.
How can
So-
we put RSO into the patient's bill of rights? How does that get in? How does that get in there somehow?
You know, you get a sponsor in the legislature, or you do it through an initiative process, one of those two. You know, so or you could go the administrative law route through the regulatory agency, but usually they're gonna go according to what the legislation says. So we're planning an initiative to change Oregon's marijuana regulation system in 2026 right now. We need about $1 million to just put it on the ballot and exist for the vote. Then we raise more money, then that will help advertise the campaign. But just to do it here in Oregon, we're a much smaller state than New Jersey is population wise. How many people are in New Jersey?
A lot. A lot. Too many.
I think it's like 30 million.
Yeah, we're about 4.5 million right now, I think, statewide. So
Right.
we're one of the
Actually, it
smaller.
might be 8. Jersey might be 8, actually.
8 million. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I know Michigan is or was 10 million exactly, because I operated clinics for medical marijuana patients all over Michigan.
So what is the initiative you're talking about in a couple of years? It's a
In
ballot
Oregon,
initiative?
It really, Oregon was one of the first states that had a medical marijuana law. I put one forward and put it on the ballot in 2012. In 2012, the Marijuana Policy Project put it on the ballot in Colorado, and the Drug Policy Alliance put it on the ballot in Washington State. Washington State doesn't have any home grow provisions. Anyway, so the one that passed, though, doesn't allow, mine would have allowed it in 2012, but the one that passed in 2014 that was put forward by the Drug Policy Alliance, we had to argue to get even home grow inserted in that. But they really screwed it up. But they're at the behest of their own corporate masters. So they did what George Soros told them to do. I mean, I don't want to sound like some conspiracy nut, but in this case, the Drug Policy Alliance's primary funder is George Soros. So and Soros health companies are taking over a lot of the market right now through Canadian backers. I've had direct experience in that. But anyway, this initiative would allow public consumption bars, allow people to smoke cannabis outdoors as long as they are 30 feet away from other people and not imposing, the smell on other people. And it would regulate the supply and make it easier to get licenses. Right now, there's been a moratorium on getting any new licenses in Oregon since 2018? Yeah, 2018. And so there's an oversupply of cannabis in the commercial market. And a lot of our cannabis is, for sale in New York City right now and in Thailand. But that's through the black market channels.
Not Singapore.
No, it's just tragic what happened to that poor man. I mean,
Terrible.
he never even touched the marijuana.
No.
They just said, "Oh, you made phone calls to this guy, and therefore we're going to execute you."
They killed him over weed.
over phone calls to someone
yeah.
who they say had weed.
Yeah.
They
Over. a
didn't
phone.
kill him he had been found guilty of possession of one joint like 8 years ago or something. And he had to go in and get drug tested. And when they drug tested him, they looked through his phone and says, "Oh, you called this drug dealer. Okay, we're
That's what
executing."
happened.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
They showed there were just 2 phone calls to the drug dealer. And
They went
they,
through his phone.
yeah, just for making 2 phone calls. Or theoretically making 2 phone calls. I mean, who knows, right? He never touched whatever it is he was accused of touching. But boy, things have
Oh,
gotten a lot better in Thailand. I was just there in November, December for about a week. But in Singapore, you know, it's a little city state, and it's one of the most draconian places on earth. If you chew gum or something, you can be caned with a piece of bamboo in public. You know,
yeah. They whip you over there with yeah.
yeah. They do. They do.
Wow.
Caning.
Too bad they don't have any oil. We could go to war with them.
Yeah, well, a lot of it goes through there because they're right at the straits that you're going to go from Europe to Japan or China. You've got to go through there, or really the west coast of America too, or a little different path from South America, I guess. Anyway,
So do you guys have you do cannabis news on your show?
yeah,
Do
yeah.
you guys have any cannabis news or because I'd love to hear some cannabis news. We have a couple of stories here.
Oh, well, there's just so many right now. You know, they've legalized medical in Kentucky. They've executed this poor guy. There's been changes up in your neck of the woods. I think what was it? Is it Maryland?
Oh, Delaware.
Delaware. Yeah, I get those confused. Those Chesapeake Bay states. But Biden's home. But
They went recreational. And it's funny because this week I'm going on Sunday to the NASCAR race in Dover. So
okay.
I want to know if I can smoke weed there. And
Uh-huh.
basically it's look the other way.
Do they have a medical program in Delaware?
They have a medical program. Our cards are good in getting Delaware,
Okay.
but we can't smoke in Delaware.
Oh. Is Delaware like Oregon, no public consumption? So it's like,
Right.
where do we go?
Yeah.
Right.
I just sit in my car.
Yeah, that's the same thing we have here that we're trying to change through an initiative since we can't get it through the legislature. Sometimes threatening an initiative will help you get through the legislature if you have a credible threat and know who to talk to. But takes a lot of work. It's all a lot of work anyway.
Yes. I think oh, there we go. Alan Gordon. Hello, sir. How are you? This is Rhode
Hello,
Island.
welcome.
Rhode Island.
Rhode
checking in.
Island. Oh, that's awesome.
Is that a cloud of smoke? I'd love to see that.
Is Anne with you?
I love when
Oh,
Alan
no.
arrives in a cloud of smoke.
Hey, brethren.
How are
I
you?
finally got my sound turned on. I could just hear.
Long life and prosper.
And God said, "Let there be sound."
All right.
Did he say
I'm
that?
driving for a couple minutes here, but then I'll stop and pay even better attention.
Did God even say that? Let there be sound? I don't think so.
No.
He said, let there be light.
I heard you say that.
He said light.
Let there be light.
His voice was the sound. We didn't have to say it.
That's right.
Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes,
You have
sir.
the sound has to vibrate. Unless you're saying
Well,
it.
that was me driving over some rumble strips. Don't mind me.
Alan is a reverend up in Rhode Island, the Healing Church. Cannabis is a sacrament. And Alan can tell you anything about cannabism in the Bible. Anything.
Just about.
Yeah, because it's throughout the Bible. It's not just a couple of things here and there. It's everywhere.
Chris,
Kind of the
Chris
theme of
Bennett's just coming out with a new book all about that. It's just coming out next week, I think. But he's got like 5 other books or 7 about the history, but he's compiled it all with new information, like the discovery of that cannabis hot box inside the 1700-year-old Israeli Jewish temple. So that proved a lot of stuff. That they had a little hot box where they hot box hash.
well, that's what the tent of meeting in the Bible was. There was a mercy seat in there, and they'd smoke it out until it couldn't see.
The ancient Scythians did the same thing.
Thought they did an outside tent situation. Well, I guess that, yeah.
Yeah,
that
they
would
did
be
it
a
in
tent,
tent.
wouldn't it?
It's the same thing though, hot box.
Seems to be kind of common amongst the ancient cultures that hated that stuff with the hot box, an area with it, instead of just sipping it through a straw.
The first historian in Western culture was the Greek Herodotus, about 2500 BC. And he wrote about the Scythians and how the Scythians hotboxed and how they used cannabis to tame horses and domesticate horses and make themselves great warriors.
Really?
Yeah,
That's amazing.
the very first historian in Western culture. And the oldest
it's
book in Indian culture, also the one, not the first Veda, but the third Veda in the Rig Veda series. They talk about cannabis, as does the oldest book in Chinese culture. It talks about cannabis, so it's tied into all of it.
So hotboxing came before smoking out of bowls, I'm assuming, and pipes and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So who was the first culture to start with a bowl?
It's disappeared into ancient history, but by 13,000 years ago, cannabis had spread from Central Asia over in Kazakhstan in its indigenous area, according to the latest archaeological discoveries. By 13,000 years ago, and we think people started cultivating about 25 to 35,000 years ago. And then by 13,000 years ago, it was being cultivated in northern Italy. They found farms and hemp and pollen showing that it was widely being cultivated in northern Italy about 11,000 BC. And so that was way before the Romans, way before their predecessor, the Etruscans. It's all disappeared into the blur of prehistory. There's no telling what remnants of different cultures are all throughout everywhere, really, you know. One of the things is the sea level over the past 12,000 years has risen 400 feet already, you know. So there's, and if you were on the coast 12,000 years ago, that is now 400 feet underwater, which is like the boundary between light and darkness.
I'm not sure about that. The reason I have to disagree with that is because I spent so much time living in Bermuda, which is geologically older than you're talking about. There's no spot on the island that has 400 feet above sea level. So
that means it was above sea level. You know, like the
you're saying
the Great Barrier Reef.
okay?
Okay,
I had it backwards there.
The Great Barrier Reef in Australia wasn't an underwater reef. It was land. It was above sea level 12,000 years ago. There was a lot more land than there is today 12,000 years ago. Because, you know, it's pulled out into the ice caps, which have been melting since then, since the last ice age.
Is that global warming?
Yeah, deforestation has been going on for millennia as well. In the Bible, they talk about the forests of Lebanon, and they were famous for taking their huge trees and making ships. The Phoenicians were, but those forests are gone. They still have a cedar tree.
Actually, Lefty, I got to stop you there because the cedars of Lebanon in the Bible were an allegorical reference to cannabis. The
Well, there's
actual
still some
cedars that
in
grow
Lebanon.
in that
There aren't many.
climate. But you're missing something. The actual cedars that have
You're breaking up, Alan.
Yeah, we lost your audio.
Alan, we lost you. Alan, we lost you. Are you saying this was cannabis and not cedar? I wouldn't be surprised. Alan, we can't hear you.
Well, I mean, cannabis was there. It was the ropes, the oakum between the boards.
Oh,
the
yeah.
a Masonic group called the
The-
Tall
the
Cedars of
board
Lebanon. It's kind of a joke.
Yeah,
The
we
board
couldn't,
itself-
Alan, we couldn't hear you. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. We couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry, I'm driving. I'll speak more clearly in a few minutes when I get in, but there's this series of riddles in the Bible about the so-called tall cedars of Lebanon showing that they're actually
Yeah, we'll probably have to wait till he gets.
Yeah, we'll wait for you, but it sounds like there was
tall
cannabis
cedars
with.
in Lebanon. The type of cedar that grows there is gnarled and short. It doesn't grow into a tall, straight form there, and it never has. There's no record that it has other than this part in the Bible, which is just a riddle anyway.
Well, the thing is, you got to realize is that the climate change happened long, long ago. There used to be a savanna where the Sahara is. Climate change has been going on, and it's primarily been human driven, even back in prehistoric times. But volcanoes change it, the sun changes it, the orbit changes it. There are a lot of variables.
So yeah, it makes sense that whatever wood they were growing, they had to grow cannabis with it because they had to make the ropes, they had to make the sails, they had to make all the other things that go along with that. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Cannabis had to be grown just for ropes, just for the ropes of the ships.
That's correct, and it was grown in profusion in Lebanon, which is named after Laban. That's, I guess, from the Bible, Jacob's uncle. And of course, the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon has been one of the top hash producing sites for thousands of years. Some of the finest hash in the world made there. But the temple in the Bible was said to have been made out of these tall cedars of Lebanon. But if you check the dimensions, they don't fit on the site. There was an allegory describing the temple as much larger than it actually was. If you shrink those down by that scale, they're lo and behold 6 feet long, the measure of a canna or a headstaff measuring rod that was used to measure the temple, as it says in the Bible. So the tall cedars of Lebanon thing is kind of a
What's going on?
joke, as I said. But like I said, the whole Bible's all about cannabis and full of riddles like that. You can see in one of Ezekiel's riddles that the tall cedar of Lebanon isn't really a cedar. It says so there. It says, no, this is just an allegory for the tree of life. And so it was clear that it was speaking of some other important plant. And that the temple was built out of whatever this tree of life was, i.e. hemp.
Hey, Jim Miller, how are you, sir? I can't hear you. Not yet. You have to unmute, I believe.
Yeah, I know.
There you
that.
go.
I'm doing good by my standards. I keep the horse at low.
Cool. Where's your microphone at?
You can't, hold on.
You might have to put it a little closer.
No.
No, that's not it. Just checking.
He got headphones on too. You guys are like professional.
About that.
Oh, there you go. That's perfect.
Yeah. No, I put the microphone right next to me. It fell on the floor.
Sounds good now.
Yeah, it sounds good.
It fell on the floor when I wasn't looking. An
Yeah.
auspicious beginning, I suppose. Thought I'd just check in. I forgot it was tonight, and
I'm just making sure because we want good sound, good audio. That's why we're doing this now.
yeah.
We got 3 months to plan for this. So let's get all the bugs out now.
How many states are online right now this minute?
We have Oregon, California, Rhode Island, and New Jersey.
Well, that's all that matters anyway, right?
Well, this is great because we can compare notes, which is I love doing this because we all have different
Jim.
problems. Every state of ours here has a different problem.
All right.
Well, you know, if I want to chime in real quick, one of the problems we have here in New Jersey is we're having problems with a Senate president who doesn't seem to want to learn from other states' experience and keep trying to reinvent the cannabis homegrown wheel, so to speak. When questions arise like how many patients in a state that registers their patients and then keeps track of who is growing when they allow home grow. How many patients, what percent of their registered patients actually grow their own medicine? We haven't a clue. We have 100,000 patients. It could be 10,000. It could be 75,000 of them. But the way to find out is through other states. Now, I can't just go and look up somewhere the answer to that question. Is there any other states that have a medical marijuana program? And I call it medical marijuana because that's, I think, what our program is. Cannabis, I prefer to call it, but see what comes out each time. That how many is there any other states that have medical cannabis patients where, other than financial considerations like compassionate care discounts for prices at dispensaries, other than that, do any other states have divisions within their patients where some get a benefit, are allowed a benefit, and the others aren't? I mean, is there a dividing line within the patient population in some
What
state?
benefit? What
You know,
benefit?
in other words, like we're having a Senate president suggests, actually to Lefty in person, that oh yeah, we've been talking about this, a bill that has not had a hearing in 2 years. Yeah, sure they've been talking about it, but anyway, and he said, yes, we are going to be considering this for a very, very thin amount, was a quote in the media, I guess somewhere, but he's a very, very thin amount of patients. He's going to make it some sort of pilot program, not knowing what it's based on. It's really a bad idea. How do you draw a line between patients? Like, does Tourette's hurt? Does it cause pain? I mean, oh no pain. Well, then you don't get it. What about a disease like multiple sclerosis, where use of cannabis can delay the onset? It can really keep it from getting worse. Do you have to wait till you're in a wheelchair to get it? You know, like a pilot, because is it going to be based on who physically needs it the most? That'd be impossible to decide. But the whole point of what I'm saying is, if this comes together where there's enough states that beyond just on July 10th, that when we need information from each other, if there is going to be somehow, some way we can set up an easy way to have a question like that, like the Association of Reform Organizations list. I guess, Paul, you probably were on that. I don't see that coming up on my feed anymore, but at one time throughout the country, different organizations could have 2 people on the list, and what a great way to get information that you couldn't look up anywhere. So I see this as being a similar sort of benefit, and I didn't really think about this till I tried to find out, like, how many, is there another state that says, yes, we have medical cannabis patients, we let some of them, what? I mean, how do you divide it up into who's eligible to grow and who's not, unless they're gonna do it by income
Well, I can
consideration.
tell you how it's worked in each of the states that I operated clinics in.
Yeah,
For
this,
instance, just saying here in Oregon, every person can grow 4 plants in a household, not
Mhm.
per person, but each household or residence can grow 4 plants.
Mhm.
But a medical patient can grow 36 that are less than 2 feet tall, 12 that are more than 2 feet tall, and 10 that are flowering. It's really kind of confusing. But if you go across the river into Washington state, no one can home grow except patients. Patients are the only one who can home grow. And so they can get a doctor's recommendation, and that allows them to grow a total of 6 plants. And it's not really allowance, it's an affirmative defense. That means if you get busted, you go to court and you can present this as an affirmative defense. But if you take your doctor's recommendation to, which the doctor has to print out on prescription paper in an 8.5 by 11 form, you take that to a medical dispensary and pay $1 and join the Washington Cannabis and Liquor Control Board's registration. Then you're protected from arrest, and you can grow a total of 15 plants, and you can get a discount at the medical dispensaries, and you can possess more. And so that's just a couple of states and how it's different. Each different state has different rules, and it changes county to county and city to city in some case. And they're in a constant state of flux where they're changing. There's been people trying in Washington state to get home grow for the general public for ever since the Drug Policy Alliance wrote the law for them. And we in Oregon are also kind of stuck with a Drug Policy Alliance law. And it sounds to me like New Jersey's stuck with the Drug Policy Alliance law.
Let me ask you another quick question real quick, because this is the benefit of getting instant information like that. I forgot my question, and I'm not even medicated right now.
You better get stoned, Jim.
Yeah. What about enforcement? What about enforcement? How will we enforce this? And it's an impossible thing to obviously perfectly enforce.
How are they enforcing it now?
How are they enforcing it?
It gives them something less to enforce.
All that, all the regulation
just takes something off the.
But is there enforcement? Is what I'm asking you. In other words, is there enforcement with that litany of overlapping, sort of intertwined regulations? Is there enforcement?
I can tell you here where Honeybee and I are at right now in the city of Portland, Oregon. They do not enforce the public consumption law. So you can go anywhere in Portland, a public park, on the street, and you can smoke pot, and people are doing it everywhere. And so, but if you go to some other places in the state, that law might be enforced. Now, for instance, look at Wisconsin. Wisconsin doesn't have medical and doesn't have recreational, but the city of Madison, Wisconsin has legalized public smoking. So you can smoke in public there, and the Madison police officers aren't going to enforce the law because that's the local law,
Mm-hmm.
And so it all depends on, and there are a lot of anti-authoritarians out there that they stand. I've seen them stand their ground sometimes, where they get the police just to leave them alone.
Yeah, I guess what I'm looking for is a good answer for when we hear that, as if that's some sort of problem that patients deserve to hear about because their problems are affording their medication, to financial degradation that comes with having to, assuming some are buying it from dispensaries even still. And I guess I'm looking for an answer. But if I say, oh, they're not enforcing it, everybody else isn't, why should we? it's not quite going to be the sell that'll
Well,
work.
no, the thing is that it's being enforced right now. And you're just taking something off the table and giving law enforcement greater resources to concentrate other places.
Oh yeah, that's
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 argument.
obviously, you know, yeah, we have also a retiring senator who is a Democrat on the health committee, which is important where the bill is gathering dust anyway. And because he was lieutenant in the state police, he seems to be very much against cannabis, all things, including medical, to the point where he voted in 2016 against adding post-traumatic stress to the list of acceptable indications after hearing veterans testify about 22 suicides per day nationwide, still voted against it getting out of committee, which it was going to do easily. So, you know, this is going to be like more or less an approach with him trying to get this brought to a hearing, saying if you're against it and you have the courage of your convictions, you should want an informational hearing so you can speak against it and you can grill the people like me who are going to testify that if you can call it, if you hear bullshit, you're right there. You should want that. You know, Lefty's words, don't be a pussy. He said that to a governor one time, just messing with him. But it's nonetheless, I like the idea of states having contact with each other through some central forum to be able to do this on a larger scale. And you know, I'm the last one to be doing any organizing. I'm the guy that has ideas but would never know what to do with them. But that list even of the Association for Reform Organization, the ARO list, really was a benefit. And maybe that would be
No, that's great.
a byproduct by the time we get to July 10th. You know, if there's some overall, maybe we could achieve this, you know, it's a sort of a good rallying cry too, especially for the lower rung, the states that are still struggling and have laws that desperately need improvement. I mean, I feel sorry when I realize that there are states that are worse off than New Jersey, because it's real hard to be in New Jersey. It has been the whole time. And yet we are doing better. And weirdly enough, we have patient consumption rules that are as good as anybody's in New Jersey. So another state could point to New Jersey and say patients need more leeway about where they can smoke. Basically anywhere you can smoke cigarettes in 25 feet from doorways. And if it's on somebody's property that doesn't want it, like a bar or a restaurant where people smoke cigarettes, they can obviously say no to that. It's not like you have the right to, but as far as police go, you do. And that's pretty fair. You know, Lefty, he's made quite a career out of showing that by going to all in the beginning, all the police stations he could, just simply making sure they knew the law. So to be able to share that information, if a state should say, how does it work where we are, you know, maybe we can help them, but a centralized way to get information from other states, that's a noble effort, and I appreciate it, you know, that you're doing this. I'm done.
Casey James, how are you, sir?
Fantastic. A little late, but I made it.
Well, that's okay. Welcome. It's nice to have you on our podcast, as we were just on yours. And if we could get that link, if we can get the link to that, that'd be great.
Yeah, we
When
put it
are
up
you gonna
on.
post that?
It's weird. We put it up on. I mean, it's up on everything, but it went up on YouTube, and it's gotten. It's gotten tons of hits already. So.
Oh, nice.
So YouTube one's doing really well. But yeah, I can get you guys a link for YouTube. I mean, wherever you want. I mean, YouTube, iHeart, iTunes. I don't know, whatever you use. That's everywhere.
That sounds good.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for having us.
No, thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. So we're talking about Cannabis Patient Awareness Day as well as a lot of other things. And so Jim and Paul were talking about something, and you guys can finish. I was just saying hi to Casey.
Well, it's I saw in the marijuana world today, the big news was another US Olympian, a track star, female for the long jump, national title holder. They stripped her of her title and kicked her off the team for testing positive for cannabis. She, apparently, she was doing the long jump. She thought she was doing the high jump. Not really sure, but I don't understand where they think that cannabis gives somebody like unparalleled athletic abilities. Like, what is the
bad message to send to the kids?
It's just they
Yeah.
have this stupid list of things. And if you test, and they test for those things, and as long as it's wrongfully on that list, that's their rule. It's a stupid rule. For cannabis in particular, I don't know enough about other substances on their list to say, but for cannabis, it's definitely not a performance enhancing substance. That's highly debatable, right?
well, I mean, I would assume, if anything, I would assume, for especially depending on what you do, as far as whatever your athletic ability is, I would assume that it would be better for you as far as, like the after the workout, or kind of to help relax the muscles.
Well, there's the story out there that Randy Weaver, a baseball pitcher, pitched a no-hitter on LSD. So
that I believe.
On one of my LSD trips when I was a teenager, I did a lot of downhill skateboarding in the Appalachian Mountains, and so I didn't wipe out, so.
Oh, wow.
I taught myself how to play the drums on LSD.
You can play it on LSD, but it's no good for chess, I can tell you that. It's not very good for interviews either.
Play the drums on LSD with some in the dark with some sticks that are lit up. And the trail, because we used to do.
Band.
Yeah, we
My
used to
friends
do.
in high school were in a band, and they had this little garage, and they'd play all the time. And we were, it was high school, and we all ate some LSD, and the drummer didn't show up. And they're like, "You get on the drums." I'm like, "I don't know how to play the drums." Like, 10 minutes into it, I knew how to play the drums. It was amazing.
Well, we used to turn the lights off in a room and have 2 cigarettes each, put on Inagata Davida, and there'd be like 6 people air drumming with this amazing,
It sounds like a hot box situation.
They were good old days.
It does.
Good
But
time.
the athletes doing it, I think it is a matter of doing it with training, perhaps, because I was a little bit surprised back in the day when Hector Macho Camacho, boxer, had his title or the win, maybe just the win, stripped because he tested positive for cannabis after the fight. I guess it was. Yeah, it had to be after the fight. But he performed excellently, and all I'm thinking is that's encouragement to me. I mean, I was well into smoking by then, but as far as all the reasons why you shouldn't do it that everybody is being told, it just flies in the face of it at a world-class level. And again, with the long jumper or the high jump, the high long jumper.
The long
That was a good one. Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. Well, actually, in long jumping, you do want to jump higher to get long. And when I was on a track team, they'd put a high hurdle in about 10 feet out, and you'd run for it. And when you jump, you'd want to get up, and then you'd put another 1.5 feet on your best jump just doing that. So, maybe somebody.
The other news, the NBA said they would quit testing.
Yeah.
The NBA said they were going to quit testing their players for marijuana or cannabis.
Well, also shows why, testing for something like driving an automobile or something. I mean, you know, if you can perform like that when you're an athlete, it's obviously more about metabolites and are you really under the influence or not? So it just shows flaws in the testing. I mean, the impossibility of it almost, you know.
The Nevada State's Athletic Commission is holding a public hearing about changes to regulations about drug testing for cannabis.
Yeah. Well, you know, I knew the writing was on the wall when a long time back, and maybe it's hard to, I would say about 12 years, maybe 13 years ago, whichever government agency is the agency in charge of cybersecurity had to stop testing applicants for cannabis because all the super qualified applicants tested positive for cannabis. So that, and it wasn't done with a massive announcement or anything. But that was long before sports are catching up. So when the chips are down, it's like, okay, we can't be messing around here and turning away, you know, I mean, even especially if, you know, a lot of times it is true that it'd be somebody that maybe stepped out of bounds a little bit and they say, well, if you work for us, you're forgiven. Oops, you did all that while you were high, huh? Yeah, well, come work for us then anyway. And you know, that was for me a tipping point that said, we're not coming back from that. You know, everything else is a lot slower though. Not a national emergency to make sure you can smoke pot and still work for the government.
You know, it wasn't until the early 80s that they came up with drug testing employees at all, you know,
Really?
and before that, it was pretty common that some people like, well, Bill Walton with the Portland Trailblazers, they won a world championship, the only one Portland ever won. And he's still an announcer, and he smoked pot then and he smoked it today. But then you look at the 1970s era, I can't remember the exact year, Academy Award winning film about Arnold Schwarzenegger. And at the end of Pumping Iron, he smoked the joint. And he never renounced that. When he was the governor of California, he said, no, that shows it's okay. And he refused to sign some bills that made smoking pot in a public park illegal. So both Schwarzenegger refused to sign it, and the following Democratic governor, Jerry Brown, refused to sign these laws, saying that you know, we have a God-given right to smoke pot on the beach, you know.
Yeah, that sounds like Moonbeam, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's cool.
Schwarzenegger vetoed it too. So, yeah, and used the example of he said he never wanted to edit that out of that movie, Pumping Iron.
Yes, I know what scene you're talking about. And
Yeah.
I know the movie, which is weird because it's like one of that scene. He's got that shirt. It says Arnold is numero uno while he's smoking a joint, which is hilarious. But I always thought, you know, I thought it was weird because it had that of him smoking that joint, sitting there, that shirt. But the part I always remember that movie is when he describes the pump and his. I never laughed so hard. He's like, goes, you go to the gym and you're pumping in the muscle and the blood, and it goes and feels, and it's like having an orgasm. And he's like, just imagine. He goes, I'm coming at home, I'm coming at the gym, I'm coming everywhere. I'm just like, what is this guy talking about?
Oh man.
Oh, I love that movie though. Now, did that win an Academy Award?
Yeah, for documentary of the year.
Wow. That was when he was Mr. Universe, right? Like,
yeah, way back when, before he really had his main film career started.
Yeah, that's amazing. To say that's amazing. So, you ever gotten or seen him at any of your events like that? Have you ever seen him at a pro cannabis event or?
No, not him.
Not him, no. Huh. Curious, yeah. That's awesome.
Who's the biggest celebrity? Who's the biggest celebrity that you've seen, Paul, at a cannabis event?
Well, I got to hang out a lot with Willie Nelson. In fact, I met Willie Nelson in 1990. I was introduced by Kentucky attorney Gatewood Galbraith, and then in 2012, Willie endorsed our initiative that I was spokesperson for here in Oregon, but I started helping everybody in his bus get medical marijuana permits in like 2009. And I signed on as Willie's grower under Oregon's medical marijuana law from 2011 through 2016, when the legislature changed the rule on allowing out-of-state patients to have a medical card in the state of Oregon. It actually had been implemented by state Supreme Court order anyway. So, but then the legislature addressed it and says, oh, you have to be an Oregon resident now. And so I got to hang out a few days with Woody Harrelson back in the 90s. That's
Nice.
another guy. I stayed at his house on top of a mountain in Beverly Hills for a few
Now
days.
that's an interesting. You stayed at his house. That's
Yeah,
that's different than running into somebody.
That's when I was importing hemp paper from China. I started doing that. So
Nice.
did
Tell us
that.
more about that one.
Yeah, that's wild.
Well, I was importing and selling hemp paper from China, and I was trying to build up, the business. And Woody was interested in investing, so I went there and I met him, and I went to a hemp event he organized in Lexington, Kentucky, and there's Bob Seeger who played a gig adjacent to this site in Lexington, Rupp Auditorium, and got to go backstage and hang out with Bob Seeger a bit once. And I got to go on stage with the Blues Travelers once.
Nice.
But that's about it for celebrities for me, I guess, that I can remember right now anyway.
Now, when you say you hung out with them, did you actually get to indulge in cannabis with them?
Yeah, with Woody and with a lot with Willie Nelson. And Willie Nelson can. I grew and I gave him probably more than 150 or 200 pounds over.
Oh, wow, that's a lot.
6 or 7 years, yeah. And Willie said that my strain, a couple of my strains were the best he'd ever smoked. And Willie once took a dose of my RSO, and I would never have told him to take 1.5 grams. But and we were in Maui, and I didn't know. I saw that his road manager says, "Well, this is how much I take," and it was 1.5 grams. But he needed it. He had a lot of different medical conditions, this guy David. But anyway, we were at Willie's. Woody's on Maui too, but I didn't see him there. We were at Willie's house on Maui, and I told him, no, you shouldn't take 1.5 grams. You should just take like 1/10 gram. And I showed him what that looked like. So he took 1/10 gram. But before we left that night, he gave Willie the 1.5 grams. So the next morning, Willie's wife calls me. What did you give Willie? What, he can't talk. He doesn't know how to talk. And I thought he had a stroke, and Willie has said that is, and his 2 sons have said as well, that that's as high as Willie's ever been in his life.
Wow.
But he was supposed to record the title track for his song Band of Brothers that day, and he postponed that a day. And I saw him the day after that, and that's when he was coming down. I got some pictures at his house the day after that. I actually ended up selling him my Volcano, though I didn't really want to. But how do you say no? How do you say no to somebody, to Willie Nelson at his house? So.
How do you say no to Willie?
Right?
Nelson?
At his house.
He told me with a big grin that he'd take very good care of it. So
That's cool. I've gotten to partake in cannabis with a lot of different celebrities, odd ones and weird. It's never the ones you expect. Like
that one
people
guy
like
came here with you that
Yeah,
one time.
yeah, it was,
Right?
Randy. Yeah, Randy from Trailer Park Boys. Randy and Sheldon. Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot about him.
So there was that. 1 year for my birthday, though, I got to perform at the Grand Ron Casino, their Spirit Mountain or whatever. And I got to work with Josh Blue and Ron White. And so I got there, early in the day, because it was my birthday. And so I showed up with a ton of dabs, just shattered, just a bunch. Like I had a lot. And I got on their bus, and Josh, he got cerebral palsy. He's from Denver. He's a comedian out of Denver, and Josh Blue. So he was like, yeah, let's get high, right? Like, let's smoke. So we're smoking dabs. Ron White does not smoke marijuana. He drinks a lot, but he doesn't smoke. And he came out of the back of the bus and was like, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys do? And we're like, we're smoking. And he's like, what is that? And we're like, it's weed. He's like, that's not weed. And we're like, it's dabs. And he's like, what's a dab? It's like, we had to explain to him what it was. And then he was like, okay, I want to try it. And so one of the comics that was on the bus, the one that was their opener, but he wasn't working that night because he was letting me do it for my birthday or whatever. And he was like, no, don't give it to him. And then Josh was over there going, do it. And so we hooked him up, and he took like 2 dabs. It wasn't even a lot. I mean, maybe a total of like a half a gram, maybe. I mean, it is a lot for somebody who doesn't do it. And we didn't perform for about another 4.5 hours. But about 5 hours later, when it was his time to go up and headline at Spirit Mountain, he was so fucked up. He was so messed up. He was slurring his words. He wasn't doing any of his normal set or telling his jokes. In fact, he started talking shit to the casino, saying that he found out that they're not even supposed to have marijuana there on the reservation or at the casino. And he doesn't understand why it's called Spirit Mountain if they can't have any spirit. He was just going off. And me and Josh were just backstage dying. Like it was pretty bad. Like, I mean, I probably shouldn't have done that before a show. You know what I'm saying? But, what are you going to say to Ron White when you're on his tour bus? And he asks you, like, yeah. So that was fun. I mean, I smoked a blunt with Jamie Foxx in Scottsdale when I was in college, and he got real weird after that. Got real goofy. Like, just it's weird how some people, like, I don't know, like I would assume that these people get way better pot and have access to it more than I do, but apparently that wasn't the case.
I got to spend an afternoon with Timothy Leary. That was kind of cool. This guy, I forgot about that one. I mean, I smoked some of my pot with him at his house. This guy who ran as Libertarian vice presidential candidate had introduced me to him via phone.
Who's that?
I'm trying to remember his name. He just passed away.
Is that Roland?
No.
Was that Roland A. Doobie?
No.
Okay.
It was Steve Cubby. Steve Cubby.
Okay.
Yeah. So Steve Cubby, I was selling him paper at the time. So I went and met him in Lake Tahoe, and he got Tim Leary on the phone. And Tim Leary said, yeah, come by my house when you get to LA, which I was going to be in like 2 or 3 days. So I went up and I spent the afternoon with him, and I smoked a bunch of pot and gave him some free hemp paper, which was kind of cool. And then about 9 months later, I went to the Drug Policy Foundation. Before there was a Drug Policy Alliance, it was called the Drug Policy Foundation. That was started by Kevin Zeese and was this other doctor, Alan something. Anyway, then Tim Leary had his last birthday party during the Drug Policy Foundation's conference in Santa Monica back. It was probably 94, 95, something like that. Maybe 93.
Nice.
Long time ago. So
yeah,
I got to go there. I didn't really talk to him much at his last big party. It was kind of weird because there's this movie out there. It's a documentary about the end of Tim Leary's life, and it shows a scene at the end where he had his head severed and his brain is frozen for cryogenic resuscitation at some point in the future. So it actually showed this on this movie, But it turned out it was kind of faked in the movie, but I couldn't tell that. I wasn't till years after I first saw it that I found on the internet where it said it was fake.
So now was the scene fake, or is the
Yeah,
whole
the scene
thing?
was fake. It actually happened, but the
Right,
scene
okay.
that showed it happening was faked, which kind of, it freaked me out because I didn't know it was fake. And I had spent a little bit of time with the guy,
Yeah.
so it was kind of freaky.
So he went and did the Walt Disney, huh? I didn't know that he did that.
Yeah, with his head only.
Right. Well, that's what they said. I when I read about Walt Disney, they said the same thing about Walt Disney. It was his head. It's his head and brain only. At a cryogenic facility.
Different
That's
people.
crazy.
You got a lot of money, I guess. You hope the power doesn't go out.
Right? Hope the power doesn't go.
Oh, it's
That's
frozen,
awesome.
but darn, it melted. Sorry.
Well, I was actually, it's funny because this came up in a conversation and a podcast I did on Tuesday. Somebody was saying that the reason Disney made the movie Frozen, right?
I haven't heard that.
Well, the reason they made the movie Frozen was so when you tried to look up anything about Walt Disney or in his cryogenic or being frozen online, it just floods. You just get pages and pages of Frozen movie stuff rather than anything else.
Well, I'm sure you can just look up cryogenically preserved people question and AI out there on Google or whatever is going to tell you.
Oh yeah, anymore. Bard and that Chat GPT will do anything at this point. Oh man. So 7:10, right?
We're going to be at the state capitol. The
State
legislature
capitol.
will probably be done with the legislative session. Maybe not. It might be getting close because it usually ends in early July. Of course, that's too late to do anything in the legislative session. But, we can make ourselves known. Hey, Lefty, were you able to reach my friend Bill in Nebraska?
No, not yet.
Okay. I sent you his phone number and he says he's on board and he organizes things at the legislature there already. In fact, he gave me a tour. He had them get the people who are at the Nebraska State Capitol in Lincoln, Nebraska, gave me a tour, and one of our doctors back in, I guess it was 2018 when we testified there for medical marijuana. Of course, Nebraska, Idaho, and I think Mississippi are the only states that don't have any medical now. Maybe it's Alabama. I always confuse Mississippi and
lived
Alabama.
in Scottsbluff, Nebraska for a while, and I had the police came to my door for something, and I let them right in, like, come on in, whatever. They weren't there for me or anything. They just wanted to ask some questions, and not even thinking about it, I let them right into my living room, and I got my bong on my coffee table and some pot, and they were they instantly took my bong, took my pot, threatened to charge me with all sorts of craziest. They did write me some tickets, right? And then this is the funny.
Got some pot.
They took the pot and my bong.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just saying, and then they got some pot.
Right. And I went, well, they kept trying to get me to tell them where I got it from. Like that was, like, yeah, okay. Like that's not going to happen. When I went to court though, it was funny because it was early in the morning. And my last name starts with a C, so I'm usually up pretty quick. And I get up there and this judge is just reading me the riot act, asking me things like, can't you find something better to do with your time? And I said, in Scottsbluff, Nebraska, no. I had the courtroom laughing, right? And then the judge made the mistake. He started asking me about the paraphernalia that was confiscated. And then he said this, he said, am I to understand that these are very nice glass pieces? They were artsy and didn't probably cost a lot of money. And you probably, that's a waste of money. And he was trying to, and I said, well, you're right, Your Honor. You're absolutely right. They are artsy. In fact, they're art, which I believe is covered under my constitutional rights. So he can go ahead and take my bong and take my art and write me these tickets, but I'm just going to appeal and go take it to the federal court because this is, I go, and I literally said, if a chick can sit on kittens, killing kittens on YouTube and not get prosecuted because she says it's art, then I should be able to have my bongs because, as you said yourself, Judge, it's art. And I was like, and since that's the case here, I'd like my bongs back. I'd like it back. The courtroom was laughing. People thought I was crazy. This judge didn't know. I did have to pay. I did pay a $75. I paid a $75 fine, but I got my bongs back returned to me. They returned. They
Amazing.
returned.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good.
I was like, Nebraska wasn't that bad. I mean, I know they told me what I could have been charged with. The weed was crappy weed and it had seed, and they were like had seeds, and they're like, we could charge you for each seed individually. And I mean, I paid $75 and got my bongs back. I'm okay with that. I'll take that. But that was Nebraska. That was my time in Nebraska. That was the only run-in I had. And I didn't even think about it. I just I didn't think about putting that stuff away or anything. Just let them right into my house. Comfort of my home. They should all have
So Jim, let me ask you a question. I'd like to interview you on my low budget cable access TV show. So how is your Monday, next Monday?
What time?
How about 7 o'clock? Is that good for you? That's 4 o'clock our time.
That'll work.
Okay, I'll
That's
set
good.
it up. Then I just have to check with my associate Will Appel, who records it and edits it, posts it to our local cable, Facebook, and YouTube. So I got to make sure that's a good time for him. But I think that's good. So we'll go for that. We'll communicate about it outside of that. Good. Thank you.
No, that sounds great. I'm at your
I know
service. Any way I can help.
I know we talked about it a few weeks ago, but
Yeah.
somehow it got shuffled aside. I should have followed up more
Yeah, see,
diligently.
getting shuffled aside is like part of the program. It's you sort of get to go with it and see it coming and pivot to something over here and come back. But sure, Paul, anything I can do to help you, you know that.
Cool. Well, yeah, it's like John Lennon saying, if life's what happens while you're busy making other plans, right?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I've always liked that. Yeah, I don't know how much help I can be.
Hey, you've got a lot of
I'm not
history.
much of a policy wonk on a lot of things, and
That's okay.
yeah, and I gave up a position to be at a podcast Lefty had a cannabis judging contest of sorts. I gave my my seat at the table, so to speak, to somebody else who would be better at it, because I always like what I smoke last best somehow. So I mean, to be fair, and plus my lungs have had over 50 years worth of work, so sometimes there's a little bit of coughing involved, and people don't like coughing these days. So
Going on 52 years now.
yeah, well, yeah, I have a nice picture of me on the beach in Fort Lauderdale.
You
I
taking
got caught smoking a joint just with my head.
Leaving the premises.
What's that?
Honeybee is leaving the present.
Oh yeah, I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Anyway, 52-year-old.
I'll be right back. I'll be.
No.
All right. So let me ask you this: what is your favorite strain, Jim?
I just found something 2 weeks ago I really liked, and honestly, I can't remember the name of it now. I have a real problem with there are so many strains, and if I have more than one, when I go up purchase now, I buy from the legacy market, the hippie tribe they call themselves, and it's a really well organized QR code and address dropped at the last minute. Different farm areas, and it's pretty much a farm market with the greatest people in the world and music and everything. So I go there, and the prices for New Jersey are really, really good, and the quality's pretty often, if you go up to what would be their top shelf, which would be pretty low for the dispensary system. But I tend to have like 3 or 4 different types I like, depending on what time of day it is or what I'm using it for. But if I had to have only one, this is
Yeah.
pretty.
That's a tough one. It's a
I
tough
see
one.
this is why I'm not a judge, you know. And
Now, let me ask you, there in New Jersey, does your pot go through testing? Do you guys get like, like before you purchase, what the THC, CBD levels, like,
oh
are
yeah,
they?
yeah, I'm always pretty aware, well, the stated contents and such, but I do like that. Not necessarily everybody walks up a little, has a bowl where somebody's glad to give them a bud, but I'm surprisingly well known amongst people I never met at this at the hippie tribe thing. And it's always, here, you want to take a taste of this or take a taste of that. And see, that really spoils me for the next one. So oddly enough, the one time I don't medicate during the day is before I go there, because there's something real special about walking into that, well, tent top. It's probably going to be more outdoors now that it's getting warmer.
Right.
But to go inside, I would have nothing on the way there. And then it would be such an abrupt turn in my consciousness from the moment I walked in there. And I think still, I just marvel at how easy it is and how nice everybody is and how well it works and organized and no complaints. And it's sort of like it's just a model
It's
of
like a big community.
simplicity, And so what I like about the situation now, and this is new to me since I guess the end of October, when I go there, I buy for my friends and relatives, because the New Jersey law says an adult can possess up to 6 ounces. And for the last 15, no, even more years, every Sunday back at the house I grew up in, 2 brothers and his stepdad, we gather there. And I'm the guy that never had much bring to the table. I couldn't afford getting family Christmas presents. And I say, no, we don't want you to, no money. But now everybody's financial situation is a little better because of this incredible price break. And some days are just awesome because,
So now I'm curious, so I'm in Oregon, and I've said this before, I'm spoiled when it comes to pot. But what are the prices like in New Jersey?
Well, the price, it really depends, obviously, where you get them. The dispensary price, which is the only legal source, it hovers around something decent. Is about a $400 an ounce project.
Wow.
If I'm a registered patient and a Medicaid patient, so I get compassionate care discount of 20%. But for me, it's I would try to get the price down with discounts. Sometimes I have a sale, and it was still around, on a good day, $260 for an ounce or something like that. Now, at the farm market, the absolute upper price I found is $200, and there's a quality selection at about $100 an ounce, which is so much different. Now I know, that might not be impressive in Oregon or whatever.
That's,
I mean,
like,
that's
about right.
You can see that now.
Really good indoor in the black market.
The best thing, like I'm going next Saturday, a patient who is actually the second patient to purchase legal marijuana in New Jersey, and Mary Pangburn, she just actually had a heart attack, but it didn't turn out to be like really debilitating. And she needs top shelf pain relief from a stroke she had. Just came from her house because picked up some money because I'm going on Saturday, and and I'll get her on the way home, but she's in so much pain. And so happy that she knew I was coming back with a couple of different things that would work good. And it's not like you can go to the same table and they have everything the same list. You know, you might not find what you got 2 weeks ago, but it's the best people in the world, people I've known for a while too, who organized it. So I'm real happy to do this for her, but she was in so much pain by the time I left. I tell you, I was angry for the 15-minute drive back here because how simple it is. And, you know, she had something, I had something with her before I left, and how quick that pain that surged on her went away. But she has more money now. She has an allotment, an inheritance, which isn't much. It's her brother gives it to her, and I guess monthly or weekly allotments. But she was spending, give or take, $800, about $1,200 a month
Wow.
for her medicine, and now it's like about 40% of that, even maybe even less. So she's finding, oh, I thought I was out, but I found a half an ounce. Can you remember when you bought this? You know, and all I could think of then was the one thing that was missing with me decades ago was the technology for people to see patients and hear them. I mean, look, we're having a Zoom meeting right now.
Right.
I was thinking today, I want to get some patients together to have a Zoom meeting with our Senate president, who will refuse likely. You know, I'm a co-founder of a 20, we're having our 20th year as a nonprofit coalition for medical marijuana, New Jersey. And I'm thinking that we should, the Senate president worked with us to get the law passed, you know, and now he's not allowing home grow bills for adults or patients, separate bills are on together to be heard. He's going to give into patients a little bit, maybe, and all that's going on. And all I could think of is to my own coalition. I'm a little more aggressive about some things in them. Is that I want to get patients together like we're looking at each other somewhat right now, and have the meeting without them, and then send him a copy of the meeting, and then let him know, as I did last year and we've done before, is put it up on letpatientsgrownj.com website, and make sure people know it's there, so other people know the patient's discussion and see what he did not want to join, that he refused to be part of. It's just that easy to do. And you know, so that's
So I got a question for both of you, and Lefty. This now, because you said you ran a nonprofit for a long time doing this. My question is this: so here in Oregon, when we went to legalize recreational, and the bill we passed, I was big here on the radio, and I was probably I'm a pot smoker, and I'm for smoking pot, but I was the only pro cannabis smoker did not want this bill to go through. I mean, in Oregon, we already had marijuana was already decriminalized, right? So you know, a non card holder, non-patient could have up to an ounce on them, you know, and if you got caught or whatever, you got a $75 ticket, a Class A misdemeanor ticket, saying like running a stop sign. And we had a patient and medical system that was already in place and working wonderfully. The problem I have is, my question is this: do you think that people are pushing state issues? Yeah.
Yeah, it was when the law first passed, Oregon was the first state to decriminalize in 1973, and it was a $100 fine. But then they increased the fine in 1991 from $100 to a minimum of $500, maximum of $1,000 fine.
See,
so from 91
I've heard, now see,
until
I've heard this,
2014, it was a minimum of a $500 fine.
but I got caught with marijuana in the late 90s. I mean, and it was a little over an ounce. And I got written a $175 ticket
You fucking kidding me.
that I went to court, and the judge dropped down to $75 as long as I paid it that day.
Okay, well, I can't address that. I could just tell you what the law was.
Yeah,
And
no,
so
I'm just saying,
I'm
like,
not
because
sure how that
somebody
happened
else
or
told me
anything,
this,
but
told me that
it's a
exact
matter
same
of
thing.
record, you know? So,
Yeah.
So welcome Karen and welcome Pearson. Pearson,
Hello
there.
Hey,
Alaska.
how's it going?
But my question was for the, do you think, so now that these states are pushing like state regulations, right, for state legalization for recreational or even medical use in some states, do you think that's taken away? See, so my argument was that's taken away from the, instead of legalization, nobody's pushing for reclassification anymore. Instead, because I honestly believe pot shouldn't be a Schedule II narcotic. I mean, it should be the same as any other fruit or plant you grow
Well,
in my backyard.
I agree. I think it probably is going on, but we don't hear about it so much because of the incredible snail's pace that the
I mean,
federal
it
government works
just
with.
happened.
We would
It
hope
just
that it would
happened
be
on an
treated like a
international
tomato.
level with the World Health Organization. And in fact, Virginia activist Michael Kravitz worked with the coalition of people around the world that rescheduled marijuana from Schedule I down, I think, to 4. And that was under international law. Now,
Who did that?
and it was done in Austria, part of the United Nations, and it was set up by the international treaties, the Single Convention Treaty and the United Nations Treaty on Psychotropic Drugs. And so, but Michael Kravitz can speak to that more. It takes a while, though, for these international laws to filter down to various governments.
Well,
China and Russia opposed that rescheduling, but the United States helped get it through. Kravitz was just one of the non-governmental
Nice.
agencies, and he's been working on medical marijuana for veterans for a long, long time as well.
I know Mike for a really long time. He was there when Cheryl and I got arrested for her eating marijuana in Congressman's office. Mike was I met him then, and he was really doing stuff, amazing stuff then. As to what you were saying before about rescheduling, or states have their own scheduling as well, and in New Jersey's classification is Schedule I as well, and that's done through the Division of Consumer Affairs, ironically enough.
Well,
And it's fun having the discussion every 2 years or so, because we have a program and a law that says that one state law that says marijuana is to be considered on par with prescription drugs in New Jersey when it comes to legislation and anything medicine. It's supposed to be on par. So we have a law that says that, and yet it's Schedule I. It's so. How do you have a state law saying the opposite thing? And it's a funny, sort of embarrassing shell game for them, but you got to put them through the hoops. Obviously, they're not going to say one time, I see what you mean, we're going to reschedule. It's not going to happen, but it doesn't mean
it's schizophrenia.
Yeah, but it's not. I feel like not putting them through the hoops that we become enablers. I mean, it doesn't matter if we know it's going to work. It depends if it doesn't take a lot of time or effort, and you might get some mileage out of it just to embarrass your own Division of Consumer Affairs. But
Pearson, you had your hand up, Pearson. Are you calling from Alaska? Or are you back in the?
Yeah.
You really cool.
Yeah, I just got back to Alaska April 1st. Nice trip around the country. I put my hand up just to go back to Michael Kravitz and the UN decision. You're absolutely correct. It was just Russia and China that were voted no on the two bills to reclassify, reschedule cannabis internationally. I work with Michael and the Veterans Action Council about three days a week. I think in regards to the reclassification of cannabis, I think that when it comes to state legislation or federal legislation, I think that is the main push. I don't think it's identified as much as it used to be, but in regards to the legalization of medical or recreational adult use, that is something that is a necessity when it comes to the legalization or states being allowed to sell licensing for it. But yeah, you guys are you're all on par. But yeah, sorry I'm late. I just found out about this. I was driving. I didn't know.
I'd like to ask a question. If
Go ahead, Adam.
my name's Adam. I guess I'm representing New York, right?
Yes, sir.
You guys think that the federal government has tipped their hand? I mean, so like, yes, everyone wants it to be descheduled, right? I just heard about that today, so I guess I've had a busy week. The UN reclassification, that's really cool. The federal government has their patent for medical use for the cannabinoids. So do you think that prevents it from being descheduled?
Yeah, I think so. In a lot of ways, I think if you look at, and I hate comparing cannabis with alcohol, but when it comes to legislation and stuff, I think it's something that's important to look at. Prohibition with alcohol, even though federal prohibition was ended shortly after it beginning, it allowed certain states, certain municipalities to retain that right to keep it either illegal or Ocean City, New Jersey, which is a dry town, or Louisiana has several dry counties, or I forget what they call their counties, but
Alaska has several dry counties.
That's with alcohol. Cannabis has been overlooked since 1975. It was decriminalized. And we have our 19th Amendment, which is the right to privacy. So it allows for you to not really be in jeopardy of getting a warrant served on your address, unless you are actively committing a violent felony. You're not getting you're not going to get a no-knock raid or anything like that, which is really awesome. There was a.
Can you reiterate that? Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Okay. So the Right to Privacy Act, the Right to Privacy in Alaska, it's the 19th Amendment, I believe. I'm pretty positive about that. But it states a resident's right to privacy, which allows, which really restricts judges and law enforcement in a manner of allowing for warrants to be served on properties, and there are a few things that allow for warrants to be served, and those are cases where it's something that is immediate. There's some type of bodily infliction or harm that is more likely than not, and in a manner of a felony or something that's described as a felony. For example, we had somebody break out of a prison here, and they retreated they went to baby mama's house. And the police figured that out by the woman calling the police and telling them that she was at home with her former boyfriend, who was supposed to be in jail. He escaped, and now he's in the house with her kids. The police set up a barricade and were, I guess what happened was she either called and said that she wasn't in harm, or they decided they tore down the roadblock or the barricade and just decided to find him another day. And that's something that I couldn't see happening in a lot of other places in the world. Look at like Ruby Ridge or something similar to that, where it allows for public safety to be a higher priority than kicking indoors, which I always appreciate, and it makes a lot of sense. It's similar to no pursuit laws in small towns that are highly dense, that will cause more, is more likely than not to cause more injuries or more public safety hazards if they do decide to pursue, because that allows for the criminal or the person that was asked to pull over actively to run the risk of hurting others, or really get the situation escalated. And I really appreciate. I love Alaska for that one. One of the many reasons I love Alaska. But sorry, I didn't mean to take over the conversation. But if anybody has
that was interesting. I don't think in today's America that would happen anywhere else, where if somebody escaped out of prison and then wherever they went, that person called and told the cops they're here. I'm pretty sure anywhere else in this country, these cops are coming to get you one way or the other.
Well, Alaska's constitution, Alaska joined the Union in '59, so it was written more recently, and it was the first constitution that explicitly allowed a right to privacy. And that right to privacy ruling led to it becoming they legalized marijuana in the Raven versus State ruling in 1975. And marijuana remained legal in Alaska until a state initiative changed it in like 1989. And so, and now, of course, it's legal recreationally. And Michigan had done it before, but only for a month, when they freed John Sinclair and overruled the Michigan Supreme Court overruled their marijuana laws. They were particularly draconian. But Alaska actually legalized it for 16 years before it was recriminalized, and in an initiative process that was funded by the Republican Party.
Yeah, my first business, I started a transportation company for cannabis throughout the state of Alaska. And one of the individuals that I had the honor of meeting was John Collette. John Collette was someone in the early 90s that fell under a DEA statewide raid. And they were dubbed the Collette raids. Now the feds came in, arrested him. I believe he got sentenced to like 5 or 10 years in jail. He went down to Chile. They ended up picking him up a couple years later in like Colorado or Washington. He got brought back to Alaska, and the Alaska Supreme Court decided that the raids were unconstitutional under Alaska state constitution, and he got let off, and now he has a legal cultivation license. It's amazing.
That's a respect.
So it's Alaska is a different world. I mean, it's something that you're able to, there are less resources when it comes to like healthcare and things that are pretty regularly accessible in the lower 48. Me growing up in
Are you
Philadelphia,
where are you at in Alaska?
Fairbanks.
Oh, okay. You're in the Arctic Circle.
I'm 120 miles south, about between 80 and 100. I should probably look that up. But it's a dirt road right down the street that goes all the way up to the North Slope. But it's yeah, I enjoy it. I came up here in 2015, and yeah.
So are you going to be participating in the Cannabis Awareness Day, and are you going to do it in Fairbanks?
Yeah, Lefty asked me about it. I haven't spoken to him yet. I figured this was
I think he's on here.
Yeah, we were.
Lefty's here.
That's a long ride for you, Fairbanks.
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
yeah. In
Are you
July,
on here for Fairbanks, or is Fairbanks your home, or?
yeah, so I have, so I'm like, from where I am right now, I'm like 10 minutes away from the international airport. I'm not far from town center. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was flying back from California when Mr. Grimes asked me to participate in it. I don't, as of yet, have any plans on coming to New Jersey for in the near future. But
I'm in Oregon.
What's that?
I'm in Oregon.
There's good
Okay,
bagels here.
There's good
And
bagels.
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about it, sure, bagels and pizza. It's the world capital.
I can mail you some.
Ooh, you could do that.
For real.
But yeah, to answer your question, I would love to, but right now I just started another business. I have a couple hundred acres. I'm trying to build a solar farm and agriculture project for the community. So I'm neck deep in that. So it's a busy schedule, and I'm a single father, so
Yeah. Wow.
a lot of stuff going on. But I'm always interested in what's going on the East Coast, and always happy to participate.
You can take part from your home. You don't have to go to the state capitol. We'd like to hear what you need in Alaska. What are some of the things you need in Alaska? Anything?
What do we need in Alaska? Yeah, I mean, we need a VA hospital.
Yeah.
You're a veteran.
Yep. Yeah, I'm a Marine Corps veteran.
I'm a service-connected disabled vet myself. Army.
Right on.
Back when Jimmy Carter was president.
Right on.
Long time ago.
I work with the Veterans Action Council. I'm one of the council members with them. Helped found it. We actually just got back from Vienna. Our team just got back from Vienna a few weeks ago. We got a team going to DC next week. And yeah, what's that?
What are you doing in Vienna?
UN, United Nations stuff.
Michael Kravitz pretty well too. Yeah, you were just saying that. Okay.
Yeah, Michael Kravitz, Etienne Fontaine, Wade Laughter, George Armstrong. There's a bunch of Al Byrne.
I've known Al Byrne in the 70s.
Oh yeah,
Al Byrne was on the National Normal Board of Directors way back when him and Mary Lynn Math.
Yeah, I was on a call with him yesterday. I was on a call with all of them yesterday. We're pretty active. But yeah, we're always looking for more veterans or people that support the cause to come on and join in. We do Monday, Wednesday working sessions. Thursday, every other Thursday, we do buddy check-ins and voting, and every other Friday we do live roundtable discussions with some interesting individuals that are really trying to move the movement, or get the movement moving in the right direction, or continue the momentum per se.
How many plants are you allowed to grow, or it doesn't matter?
In Alaska,
Right.
we're allowed to have 6 plants per adult in the house, up to 12. If we have a medical card, you can do 24. And then there's licensing for small indoor grow, or I don't know if they call it novelty, or yeah, there's like a small, medium, a large licensing, which you have to go through the the Alaska marijuana board to get approved. But other than that, any resident that's over 18, I believe it's 18. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 21, but I think it's 18. Can grow up to 6 plants per adult in a residence.
Let me ask you a question I was concerning myself about before. Is in New Jersey, where we have had a couple of bills gathering dust because they aren't afforded getting committee informational hearings even. And one of the things that the legislators who don't seem to particularly want to see this happen, who otherwise are friends, and one, the Senate president, who helped made sure the law got passed, the medical law, with home grow provisions in 2009. And then the per home grow provisions were optioned out in an assembly compromise ultimatum, so to speak, for reasons still unknown, that either get rid of the home grow provisions, or it's not going to have a compromise bill. The assembly bill would be different and all. But anyway, now the oddity of the Senate president being more concerned about getting money into the treasury through legalization for adults last year in New Jersey, it took effect, and trying to work everything out. Adults want to grow their own. There's no home grow provisions. We did it by referendum, which means they make the rules afterwards. And I didn't think it was going to include home grow. I'm surprised other people did, but it didn't. And the shorter version would be, we're hearing already, and we'll be hearing, there's problems with enforcement. So my question is there any kind of enforcement noticeable for the rules you were just saying, the limits? 6, does somebody ever question somebody? I need to see your 6 plan. I mean, because there's no enforcement, because it seems like without complaints, why should there be? Almost, I mean, the whole problem seems to be solved by just getting that done. And I don't like that that's going to be actually an issue of contention when other states aren't having problems that are causing them to rethink their home grow statutes. So why I like taking part right now is I can ask you about Alaska, where I couldn't find that out without contacting one of the legislators who helped made it happen. That's another thing I think with this group that'll be helpful, is the legislators in states who did get things done originally, and who would be the counterparts to their colleagues here in New Jersey, to stand ready to take an email with consideration from their counterpart in another state, because our Senate president's talking about, well, I'm planning on getting back to Colorado to, like he needs to actually go to Colorado to get something done. It would be very beneficial at the very worst for somebody like me to have a statement from an official, a legislator in a state about this issue, so that when I go to testify in committee, I can at least read a statement from a legislator who will take questions from them. And in a best case scenario, have on speed dial, because that's always embarrassing for somebody else when they're trying to ignore the fact that we are 50 states. We are meant to try things differently. And then the others are meant to be able to look at that, to not have to reinvent other people's wheels. It's a wonderful system, but when somebody avoids using it to not do something, that's when I got to step in. And so, you know, if somehow you come across that information and we're back doing this on another Thursday night, or even all the way off into July 10th, this is going to be something I've always wanted access to force it down their throats. No, we can do this. I forget where it was, but somebody in the Dutch Ministry of Health, I think it was their Minister of Health, somebody had on right on speed dial during a discussion, a recorded debate, something like this. I don't know, I can't remember, and there's good reasons for that, I'm sure. But it was like, no, because the idea that he could have put, you know, he was talking about the problem. Well, the Netherlands, they're having problems with this and they're having problems with that. And I got the Minister of Health on speed dial. You want to talk to him about it? And it was just so embarrassing for a person. I remember things like that. And I want to be able to be ready for after 2 years when bills finally do get hearings. And I'm doing what I can to see make that happen. That we're ready for it. And that's one way I want to be ready. So this is very good for me to, you know, if there's anything between now and who knows how long it take here, I'd like to pick your brain, pick anybody's brain as to why that's not a problem, and a statement from somebody who helped make it happen, you know, man, that'd be sweet. So
when it comes to home grow, I think it's again, we utilize or what we asked the legislator to do in the recreational legalization of cannabis in Alaska was to regulate it like alcohol. We didn't have a medical program prior to it, and we still to this day don't. The only program that we really have is if you get a doctor to say that it could benefit you, then you can grow 24 plants. But I think for some reason people
no, I'm just laughing because if you can get a doctor to say it works for you, you can go 24 plants, you don't need a medical program. And that's a good one right there. That beats ours in New Jersey with all what we got going on. You know, I mean, you know, patients can take care of themselves. Patients, not all can grow themselves, but they can take care of themselves if some are allowed. I mean, if one person could grow 24 plants and 3 people they know couldn't grow any, they'd still probably might have enough. So, you know,
absolutely. That's a lot of cannabis, 24 plants for a single person to use.
Alaska does things different, and I find that impressive. It's just from the time when it was legal, I guess, to have an ounce back in the 70s, and you know, I was deciding that I'm gonna go work on the pipeline then, because I could have gone and been a cook and made good money and all. I was impressed with that. And then they said, no smoking pot, no drinking while you're working on the pipeline. You know,
the North Slope.
Yeah. And then I was like, well, I'm like 21 or something like that. I can do that when I'm later, you know, 6 months. It wasn't a matter of money as much as I was that age, you know, I just wanted to do stuff, and I didn't want to not be able to smoke while I did it.
Well, but, so just going back to your question about the home grow,
nobody has anybody ever gotten in trouble for growing too much? I mean, it would probably make some sort of news if somebody had 30 plants instead of 24 or 100 or something. You know, it just seems like
Well,
24 would be hard.
Well, I guess so. I think when it comes to provisions of the 19th Amendment, that's not, if they end up getting pinched for that, there's something much more serious going
Yeah.
on in the household than that. And what DAs I've found like to do, in a way to ensure some type of conviction, is to like going from a DUI, like a on the edge DUI, like something that's borderline, and letting the lawyer know that if their defendant pleads guilty to reckless driving, or instead of something along the lines of like what's it called, intent to distribute, some type of I don't know, I'm drawing a blank on this, possession with intent to distribute, it would go to minor possession or something like that, just to ensure that, but I don't know of any cases that in that manner. There are several states that are like that, where they don't believe you should have the right to grow your own whole plant medicine.
Yeah, well, we're one where there are certainly people saying that, but like I'm saying, when their argument is based on one of the reasons we don't like that is because we can't enforce it. If for instance, in Alaska, if there are no calls by somebody, we've been having problems with the amount of, if there's no call, but I mean, well, smell, odor would be a problem, but see, it's the fact that there aren't, I guess it would probably be somebody more on the legislative end that would know more about what people would or wouldn't be complaining about. And if there was a legislator, I don't mean like, if you put me in touch with a legislator, but if somehow I can find at least who legislators are in other states that help make things happen, then I can go to work, getting in touch with them, even, and seeing if they'd be able to, I could in effect play devil's advocate with them and be the legislators that I know what they're going to say, and talk to somebody, and they could humor me and bat it back to me with what I would say, being the legislator. And again, just to be able to offer somebody making that, it's a tactic. It's not like they really think there's going to be a problem, but there's going to be, law enforcement is going to be a main category of dissent at hearings. Law enforcement, drug rehabilitation, just people who lost relatives to drug addiction and things like that come and don't want marijuana to be grown by patients, whatever. But just to have something, a counter, and we testify as we should have hearing for this come up. I usually get together with other people so that we can divert a portion of what we want to say with our time to a communal, here's other things we might want to address, and hopefully bring other states into it, saying that it's New Jersey went the wrong, we were 14 states to pass medical marijuana law, and the first state to have no home grow provisions. We went the other way. Now we're getting such a delay in minimalization effort from saying that, well, at first it'll be just for patients and only the sickest or the poorest or something. And, at that point, you want to have, I want to have some ammunition gathered over. If it takes another, I just can't wait for hearings and then reach back. And there is no real good way to get in touch with people that have these experiences in other states. So I mean, I'm here hoping she's by July, there could be several more states interested. And that really benefits what's going on in New Jersey, but then it also means that somebody could ask if we have success in New Jersey, they don't. Like, I'm a patient, I'm a registered patient. If I'm on an interstate highway here and I feel like having a smoke, I pull off to the shoulder and I take the keys out of the ignition. If I really feeling frisky, I'll put them in the glove box.
Yeah,
And
put
then
it on the roof of the car.
the law says I can do that, and then I can smoke what I need to. And then when I feel that I'm good to drive again, then I can drive away. So I get to do that. That's pretty liberal for a state that is not known for being liberal about their cannabis possession laws.
And the police are allowed to smoke there too.
Yeah, well, I just got one time, and it was I don't know, no big deal, but it was very pleasant when the trooper came up to the window and said, you were having trouble holding your lane, which I wasn't. It's just a popular thing to do, to check out. And the first thing I could say is, hey, can you smell marijuana? Because I have some, I'm a patient. Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything. And then I went, burnt or fresh? It was fun asking, which are you talking about? Because we got a law that says that. Now, in a lot of more liberal states, they can't do that. I mean, in Nevada, yeah, you can go there, you can buy, you can do all sorts of things, you just can't smoke it. I mean, hardly anywhere. But I could, we could be used as a model for other states where patients like have to go home and smoke or something because they can't smoke in public. And pull into a Wawa if they have no signs that say no smoking pot in the parking lot, and park 25 feet away from a door, and it's legal. But if states can't get a hold of us in New Jersey because there's no conduit for that, I'm seeing what's going on here as a possible benefit, and a byproduct might be an end result might be a list, an email list, not where
Is there a
everybody,
national
where
coalition
people
of
could
medical
take
patients
part,
like us?
having to do with these
we
issues.
we had, when we went to DC the first time, the Veterans Action Council, I think we had 29 meetings with national legislators.
When would that have been about, give or take? What year?
It was this year. It was
okay.
March,
Okay.
yeah. Maybe. We piggybacked off of the NIC, or the National Cannabis Industry Association. We went there for the lobby day, and Veterans Action Council got trained by them, and kind of got hosted by them the first time, and we're going back next week. I think Nate will be there. There's a few people going.
What do you do for lobbying there? I mean, do you visit congressional offices or something?
In DC?
Yeah.
Yeah, we sit in front. We go to their offices and sit down with them.
I about 12 years ago, I went to DC 3 times because the DEA was standing in the way of clinical testing for combat veterans, post-traumatic stress. Now cannabis would help with that post-traumatic stress. And it was being blocked in many ways, and a lot of people needed to say something about it. So I'm 3.5 hours away. What I would do is I would get emails from people around the country addressed to their congressman, and it would say, I'd walk in and they say, can I help you? And I say, yeah, I need to talk to you about medical marijuana and post-traumatic stress and veterans. And the first question is always the same: are you a constituent? And so, hell no, I'm not even from the same side of the Mississippi River, but I do have a letter from a constituent. And sometimes I do the Blazing Saddles. Now, let me whip this out. I take out a folded letter from my jacket pocket and say, this is from a constituent, Joe Blundoni from Madison, Wisconsin.
Wow, that's awesome.
And he says to
Holy
you, I would like you to have somebody on staff speak with Jim Miller, that's me, when he hand delivers this to your office. So I got a lot of offices to go to. I'll be honest with you. You tell me no, my job's done here, and you can take whatever comes your way from your constituent, Joe. And I can probably make all my appointments. Otherwise, I got to come back. Hey, have a seat. Somebody will be with you.
That's
It
beautiful.
worked every time. It is.
That is.
It's,
I have you. I'm gonna.
no, so that's what I'm
Seriously,
saying. If
that's
you're
great.
going to, and you can take that from somebody anywhere in the country, veterans. Ask my. I've known Mike Krauts for a long time. Ask him. I don't know that he's aware necessarily that I did that, but I did this 3 times. I had to take somebody else down with me. We have 39 offices. Two people, 39 offices in one day. So it's tried and true. I call myself Mailman Jim. Now,
Yeah, it's beautiful.
a real quick one, because you might appreciate it quick too. I'm quite proud of it. Here in New Jersey, what I'm doing is we're not getting hearings because the Senate president refuses to let committee heads post the medical home grow bill. So that being the case, I'm good at writing letters to legislators, especially initial contacts, because I've been doing it forever. And I take notice of what works and what doesn't. I ask legislators what works and what doesn't, the friendly ones. I mean, I get tips from them because you never know exactly what's going on the other end. So what I do is I write the initial contact letter. I talk to the patients that will let me do this. And I write it to their senator and their 2 other assembly people. And the second paragraph is about why growing their own would benefit them. They write to me whatever they want about that. I put it into a very focused form that fits with the first and third and maybe fourth paragraph. But I do this for them, email it to them. They copy and paste it as their own. I mean, I have the salutation, I have everything else. I do that and I tell them where to send it. So they simply get it, copy it, paste it, and wait. Now, when they don't get an answer, if they don't, I write a nudge letter. And I'm good at it, but I'm cheating because we have 5 now Republican co-sponsors of this bill out of 15. Which is really weirdly significant in New Jersey. I've got constituents in 3 of these offices. Actually, we just picked up the 5th one a couple of days ago because people that are working with me, patients, there, meaning me, I'm able to push one person this way, a little this way. And then I had the pleasure of one patient telling a constituent telling his senator that he'll be getting contacted by another, somebody else is just signed on, another Republican senator. So you might want to consider including him in your group. I'm trying to get a Republican takeover of stewardship of this bill towards getting a hearing through circumstances, but it's all doing it through constituents. Everything goes through constituents because whatever you know best or whatever I know best, we will not convince our legislators if their colleagues can't. So you convince a colleague who already supports something to talk to the guy that you're a constituent, and you have to go through others. So you're going back to Washington, make sure people know that, and you get to do just what I said. You will love it. They email it. The first sentence has to say, I would like you to have somebody on staff to talk with, and exactly how you want to, when he hand delivers this to you at your office in the county office building or whatever you want. Then they write whatever they want. You get it. You get to talk to somebody. Then the first thing you do when you leave that office, make down notes, everything, or you forget. I swear to God, when you leave, it's right in the
Yeah,
hallway. You talk
that
to
was our
yourself.
meeting.
Yeah, blonde
That was
guy.
our meeting yesterday. Make
Blonde
sure you
guy.
write everything down as soon as
The
you walk
blonde
out.
guy. I said the blonde guy, Edward, at the office and something or other. 6 months later, I walk back. I look in, blonde guy sitting there. Edward. He's on his heels now. It's a great way to start. I know. I like to, but see, I can pass that along to somebody else.
Yeah,
different
that's
state.
beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you. It's pretty simple. Yeah.
Good activism.
Yeah.
Well,
but,
I gotta get
yeah,
off here. I got
me
a
too.
4-year-old here.
Yeah. You know.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah.
I'm glad I hopped on.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
Uh,
how can I not support somebody else's effort when it means no organizational, anything for me to do, just kind of show up if I can. And if I have experience that helps, and I always walk away learning something myself. That's what it's all about.
absolutely. I completely agree.
We could be on to something. We're not. Doug Green told me on the Association for Reform Organizations list where we had all this for just cannabis reform. I suggested we all get together and do a project here and there. And he goes, it won't work out. And why not? Because it's more like we're more like herding cats. Cannabis consumers don't herd well. They don't. They're more individual. We're like cats. The legislators are more like dogs. They group better. And I thought about it. It's a double-edged sword. We do create new paths where others might not perceive them. But we don't often come from the exact same direction. And I got to tell you, I'm creating that as I'm trying to do here in New Jersey. If I get a little more organized and a little more people involved, it may be just that simple. What I'm doing here as it was being Mailman Jim 12 years ago. It could be just that simple with state local politics, So anyway, I got to go as well. But
thank you, Pearson. Thank you, Jim.
Pleasure talking to you, Pearson.
And if I don't
Great
talk to you,
talking
at least talk on 710 for a few minutes.
All
But
right, great.
All right.
thanks,
Peace
guys.
out, man. I'll talk to you later.
I want to
Take
thank
care.
CMMNJ.org, CannaSense, UFCW, Local 152, JacksonStorms.com, Smoking Monkey, Arlo Glass, OpenMachine.com, Pure Puff, and SativaCross.org. Cheryl Miller, Sabina Rose, Diane, Gracie, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy, Polly, Bill, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger, Jay, Ella, Hattie, Jackie, Anthony, Jake, Armando, Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne, Frank, Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte, Cher, Jaybird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lulu, Becky, and Jeff. Somebody just entered. Hey, somebody just entered.
Oh.
We're at the end of the show. We are at the end of the show, and somebody just joined us. Who just joined us? Hey, what's up? Is that Lee?
It's connecting, it says.
Okay. Hey, man.
What's up, man?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little late. We had a Kentucky normal meeting going on.
Really? What were
For a
you guys
while.
talking about in the Kentucky normal meeting?
What's that?
What were you guys talking about in the Kentucky normal meeting?
Let me change the audio here. I'm having a hard time.
Now or next time.
We were actually talking about the some of the downsides of the bill that we have passed right now. There's quite a few downsides to it.
Well, speaking from New Jersey, we know a lot about passing a bill that has a lot of downsides.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still
Well,
have to go through a certain amount of a regulatory uh process of codifying everything, all the little parts,
we,
or
we've got 18-month period before we actually start. They're putting an advisory board together that consists of no cannabis professionals. Right now, there's no flower. There's 30-day supply only. It's a pharmacy model. A lot of downsides right now. Only like
yeah,
6 or 7 qualifying conditions. Is what it is, man. It's
Homegrown?
unfortunately, it's
No
I get
homegrown?
it's gonna
home grow provisions or no?
no home grows.
It's just, yeah, so it's our fault, New Jersey, by the way. First of all, we're sorry about that because
Oh, it's
New Jersey was the 14th state to pass a law, the first one without home grow provisions. Oh, then other states said, you mean you
yeah.
don't have to have home grow? I feel like we started it, dude. So, but yeah, I was just about to leave, but I saw Kentucky and
Yeah. We've got
I
another thing. We still got an executive. We
you
still got an executive order in effect that essentially is worthless. So the governor said, "Hey, this is before they passed medical." Said, "Hey, if you go somewhere and buy medical, and you have a note from your doctor, and you keep your receipts, you can bring back up to 8 ounces into Kentucky." The thing is, if you get pulled over in Ohio coming from Michigan,
yeah,
that's still going to be federal
yeah, it is,
crossing.
yeah.
And if
Yeah,
you come to
yeah.
Kentucky, no judge is even like, you don't know if the judge is going to sign off. In most cases, they're still going to arrest you. They're still going to jail you. It's kind of a preemptive pardon, but nobody knows who's going to accept it or who's
Well,
not.
yeah, there's a
So
million things wrong with that. And I'm sure there's gonna be lots of other things that again in New Jersey, and it wasn't as fast as it should have been here, but before I gotta get going, I had the pleasure of having the Eddie Smith, one of Kentucky's finest back in the day, come to New Jersey in 2000 and help me break the law here.
you don't know Johnny Boone and those guys, do you?
Who? John? No,
Cornbread Mafia.
no. No, he
Well,
came.
Kentucky was the
Came with,
largest pot grow ever. They had over
yeah.
oh geez,
Well,
something crazy.
Eddie was an activist who had AIDS and cancer, and both
Oh
terminal.
wow.
So what he did is in 2000, when Al Gore was running for to be president, he went to his Texas headquarters from Kentucky to light up a joint, see what happens. And
Oh wow.
yeah, and what happened was the guy said, "Is there anywhere else you could do that?" And Kevin Zeese was with him and said, "Well, where would that be? If not here, where?" And they let him finish his joint, and then I had him come to New Jersey because we were doing some stuff. But
Awesome.
Eddie was
Where
like,
you at, New Jersey?
I'm from Tom's River. I'm half in Tom's River and half in towards Trenton, not quite Trenton though. Yeah,
Tom's
pretty
River is
close.
beautiful, by the way. And I was just I was in Edison. That's where I met Mr. Grimes and El
There you go.
Bongolio. Yeah.
Bongolio.
Oh
Well,
man, I took a
listen, this is a good group for you to be involved in, or it will be, because you got a long road ahead of you,
Oh, yeah.
and we have gone down that road. So we can call a lot of bullshit that you're about to hear when you try to make it better. We can hear about that here and help you say, no, we were as messed up in New Jersey as Kentucky's gonna get to be. And we took too much time taking care of the problems. We did it under Republican Governor Chris Christie for 8 years, biggest anchor you'd want to have. And yet we made progress, and it doesn't have to take that long for Kentucky. It really doesn't. So I think New Jersey at least, but then also other states. And that's going to be the good part of this group, beyond just having a patient awareness day on July 10th. But beyond that, I hope you end up with the benefit of having people to help call bullshit there.
Oh, yeah,
And as to
absolutely.
what I was just saying before you came on, with what I'm doing here, the few times that I will have conversations with friendly legislators and our push to home grow and everything else we've done, I can see who might be ready to take a call from a Kentucky legislator who wants to say, no, your concerns are not valid. I
Yeah.
know somebody in New Jersey who helped get the law, your counterpart legislatively speaking, and she or he, this is their email. You email them and they'll tell you what I'm telling you. It didn't happen in New Jersey and it's not going to happen here. We want to see if we can help you get that advantage, because we in New Jersey know it would be very, it would help you speed up the process. And again,
Absolutely.
I feel like we started the damn problem, so I have to get going.
Jim, I appreciate it, man.
So yeah, it's like yeah, I keep up with what's going on, and we do feel for you. But you're making progress, and
Oh, yeah.
it's not like nobody from Kentucky has to travel to another state to find out the answers to their concerns. So
Yeah,
let the games
absolutely.
begin for you. All right, I gotta go.
Jim, I
Lefty,
appreciate it.
I'll catch you on, bro. Lefty,
See you, Jim.
we'll be doing what we do. And I'm sorry I don't see Newgrass Consulting, Kentucky. What's your name?
Lee Thompson.
Lee Thompson. All right, Lee. Good meeting you, man. I'll talk to you later, guys.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Jim.
Hey, Lefty.
Hey, man.
I thought that was Tommy Chong. That's why I've been talking to him for 30 minutes.
That's our Tommy Chong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. He's a pretty cool guy for real. Well, man, I saw that you guys were still on here. Just wanted to kind of say, hey.
Yeah, Jim is an activist. His wife had multiple sclerosis,
Good
and
for him.
he pushed her across the state in her bed to
Shit, dude.
to push her point.
Man, you
And,
guys are hardcore in New Jersey.
Yeah, he pushed her to in Washington D.C. She went and got arrested at some congressman's doorstep using cannabis.
That's great, man.
Yeah, because she has MS. She had MS. All she could do was fight with her mouth and her head. She couldn't use her legs or arms. So
Yeah,
with what she had.
I was engaged at one time, and my fiance had MS and ended up, pretty much putting her in bed full time before she passed. And, luckily I wasn't scared of going to jail because, she needed to be medicated and we kept her medicated. So with cannabis, I'll tell you what, man, it's been a long time coming for Kentucky, brother.
Yeah, that's amazing. Baby steps. You'll get there.
Yeah. That's what I'm trying to hold on to, man, that eventually everybody will, all these people that are still behind the 8 ball, man, hopefully they'll be gone in the next couple of years, and we'll get some new blood in, that people that actually represent the patients.
Yeah,
We'll see.
They have to hear more patient stories. So they have
Absolutely.
Yeah, like when I heard Cheryl Miller's story, Jim's wife, that was many years ago. And that was who actually got me into cannabis activist. Well, I was already a cannabis activist. I wanted it legal just because I wanted to smoke weed. But then I met Cheryl Miller, and I knew that cannabis helped cancer. All right, because it gave you the munchies. That's why I knew. Because I said, hey, it gives me the munchies. So yeah, if you have cancer, you're gonna get the munchies from weed. But then I met Cheryl Miller, and I found out about the endocannabinoid system, how it helps all these different diseases, and how Cheryl used to not be able to move her arms. She'd be rigid and stiff. And then Jim would give her cannabis, and then she'd be able to extend her arms, and then he'd be able to massage her and to stretch her and exercise her arms, because she could move her arms at that point after using the cannabis. And, seeing that with my eyes, I was like, wow, I didn't know it did that, because it was like immediate.
Yeah. And that's one of the things we did on 420 was we did about an hour long. We had a 12-hour session on 420, but we did an hour long on the endocannabinoid system, and it's amazing. I mean, I didn't know about it, so I've been in the business or in the industry for like a year, and it's just amazing that the legislators here that don't even know about that. It's concerning.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of doctors don't even know about it unless you go to some certain schools.
Yep.
Down there, there's probably no doctors that have the experience. But up
And
here,
that's what concerns me about the pharmacy model in these dispensaries is the fact that I know that these pharmacists that are coming out of University of Kentucky or wherever, they're not being trained on an endocannabinoid system.
no, it's not in any universities yet, except like up here, it's in Temple, and there's a couple up here that it's in. I forget, maybe 2 or 3, where they have a courses in cannabinoids, and I
You
think
smell that?
Man, Adam just left here with some gas. Like I'm just like he left me some here, and oh, it's just super gassy. Oh, it smells like feet and toenails. And
Hey, when I go to a dispensary, I always say, man, they're like, what are you looking for? I'm like, think baby shit. That's what I want. I want it to smell like baby shit.
I want it to
I
smell
think
awful. Yeah, the
whatever
worse the better.
whatever profile or cannabinoid profile that is that smells like baby shit, that's my favorite. It's just, I love it.
Yeah, anything that smells awful, I want it. It's
Well,
good.
brother,
It's good. It
I
usually
wanna-
works. It works for my pain.
oh man, for my pain, my anxiety, my hell, everything.
Yeah, it's those
It's
specific
very
terms.
therapeutic for me, man. Of course, I can't tell these congressmen around here that it's therapeutic, but
Now,
they would
so-
rather me go to the liquor store.
yeah. Do they have wheelchair access at the liquor stores?
Well, of course, the banks, liquor stores, pawn shops, and check cashing places do.
I've seen
Now,
a couple
Bowling
of-
Green's pretty good. My town's very ADA compliant
That's good.
from what I've seen.
Yeah, here we
Well,
have
brother,
liquor
I'm gonna
stores.
pack this blunt. I gotta hit the road, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna end the show anyway. So here, I'm gonna end the show right now, and it goes like this. Thanks, Lee. Thanks so much, brother. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you guys.
Here we go. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not worry them, nor the years condemn. At the going down